Hello everyone. We are Group 5 from Archdiocese of Zamboanga, and our topic for today is forms of business organizations. Now, before we tackle our main agenda for today, let's first define what is a business organization. According to encyclopedia.com, a business organization describes how businesses are structured and how their structure helps them meet their goals. And their main objective is to earn or generate profit. So, we usually don't consider nonprofit organizations as business organizations or entities, since they are not operating for economic gain. Yes, they earn revenue, but they do so to sustain their programs and push their social objectives. However, I've seen some sources that consider nonprofit organization to be a business entity.
Okay, so now that we know what a business organization is, we must learn what are the different forms of business organizations. So, the first form of business organization that we are going to talk about is sole proprietorship. A sole proprietorship is a business structure wherein one person has complete ownership over the company. Being the only owner, he or she owns all the assets and profits of the business. However, the sole owner is also responsible for all the liabilities incurred by the business. So it's basically a one-man team where the sole owner manages all of the operations of the business. So, what are the advantages of sole proprietorship? The owner has the freedom to make all the decisions for the business. So basically, the owner is free to decide everything related to the business. Second, the owner has the access to every asset and generated profit of the business. Having mentioned that freedom, of course, the owner can also access every asset and profit coming from the business. Third, this kind of business organization is simple to operate and doesn't need huge capital to start. And lastly, it is the easiest form of business organization to manage. How about the disadvantages? Of course, being the only owner, the sole proprietorship is personally liable, unlimited liability for all the company's debts, loss, and liabilities. A sole proprietorship is not a separate legal entity from the sole owner, which means that there is no separation between business assets and personal assets. With this in mind, any lawsuits to the business affects the owner's personal accounts, and bankruptcy can heavily affect the owner's financial status. And again, being the only owner means that the business will cease to exist if the sole owner dies or decides to stop being a part of the business. Here are the examples of sole proprietorships: local meat shops, sari-sari stores, and retail market stores that people call tiangge. Essentially, sole proprietorship are commonly found on micro and small businesses.
Okay, so the next form of business organization we are going to talk about is partnership. So what is partnership? A partnership is a business structure wherein two or more people share ownership as well as management responsibilities. In the event that one of the partners leaves, the partnership is dissolved. The business can only continue as a partnership if a new partnership is formed. The ownership and profits are divided among the partners according to the contract agreed upon. As we mentioned, there are different types of partnership according to the contract agreed upon. So what are these? We only included the three common types of partnerships, which are general partnership, limited partnership, and limited liability. So the first one is general partnership, wherein all of the members of that partnership have unlimited liability. On the other hand, in limited partnership, there are owners that have limited liability wherein they give financial support but they are not part of the management and everyday operation of the business. And the third one is limited liability partnership wherein every partner is a crucial part of the business. However, the difference is that there is a limited liability wherein the action of one another doesn't affect the rest. So what are the advantages of partnerships? Of course, having a partner can provide a broader range of expertise for various aspects of the business, and having a partner also provides a better decision making than sole proprietorship. We can also consider that a business with several partners has a considerably more substantial source of financing and capital than sole proprietorship. It is also important to note that the division of labor among partners results in effective management. Now, here are the disadvantages. If you are a general partner of the business, you have unlimited liability for everything, and the disagreements can of course affect the business operations. Now, if one or more of the partners leaves the business, it will be hard to continue the business without finding a replacement.
So the third form of organization is the corporation. So what is a corporation? A corporation is a legal entity or legal business entity that exists entirely separate from its owners. Many of the same legal rights and obligations apply to corporations like they do to individuals. And limited liability is a crucial feature of a corporation as it ensures that its shareholders are not personally liable for the business's debts. Now, with that explanation, I vaguely described a corporation. So, let's discuss its features. First, they are a separate legal entity. As I mentioned, a corporation has its own legal rights and obligations that are separate from its owners or stockholders. Second, all of the owners have limited liability. The only liability that they have is, of course, their investments on the business, unless the shareholder signs something that guarantees the debts of the business, which is a different topic altogether, so I won't expound on that. Anyways, the third is ownership through stocks, which are easy to transfer or sell compared to other forms of organizations. The fourth is indefinite existence, which means that if a stockholder leaves the business or dies, it doesn't affect the continuity of the business. The fifth is tight government regulations, which is to be expected because a corporation is usually a huge organization, so it affects many lives and it generates a lot of revenue. The sixth is board of directors. They are basically the ones managing the operations of the business, and they represent the interest of the stockholders. The seventh is the dividends, which are declared by the board of directors and are distributed as a payment to the stockholders. And the eighth and last one is the double taxation, which means that the corporation is taxed twice. Since again, a corporation is considered a legal entity, so the corporate earnings are taxed, and the dividends distributed from the corporation to the stockholders is taxed once again. What are the advantages of corporations? The first advantage is that compared to sole proprietorship and partnership, the stockholders have limited liability. Again, they are only responsible for the amount they invested. The second is that it's easy to transfer ownership since you can trade stocks easily, especially if it is a public corporation. The third is the ability to gain copious amounts of funds, may it be through selling stocks or issuing bonds. And the last one is the continuity of the business, which is unlimited unless it failed to follow regulations or it became bankrupt. Now, here are the disadvantages of corporations. The first disadvantage is that forming a corporation is more expensive than starting a business as a sole proprietorship or partnership. The second is that it has double taxation, wherein two taxes are paid, one on the corporate earnings and the other on dividend distributions to shareholders. The third and last is the tight monitoring of the government, wherein the corporations are closely monitored by the government. And the failure to follow regulations could result in a company's corporate status and the protection of its owners being revoked. Here are the examples of corporations. SM, San Miguel Corporation, and ABS-CBN. So, the common pattern here is that corporations are commonly found in large businesses with more than 500 employees. And a corporation, most of them have millions of revenue.
Let's move on to our final organization, which is the cooperative. So, what is a cooperative? A cooperative is a business structure wherein each member contributes equally and share the same risks and benefits involved. Cooperatives are democratic organizations governed by their members or owners who actively engage in a formulation of policies and decision making. All members have equal authority. Members with a lot of money can buy the bulk of the stock and control the management. So, what are the advantages of cooperative? The first one is the limited liability, because the liability is equally distributed throughout the members of the organization. The second is the assistance of the government to encourage this form of organization, because cooperatives are common to poor people and promoting it helps reduce the poverty line. The third is separate entity from its members, just like a corporation. The fourth is unlimited continuity. Again, like a corporation, a member leaving has no bearing to the cooperative. Now, here are the disadvantages. The first is the lack of managerial skill, which is usually the problem of cooperatives here in the Philippines. Without proper training, it is hard to manage a cooperative. The second is the disputes among members, which highly affects the cooperative. And the third is the lack of competitiveness, since everyone has an equal dividend and no matter how better a member performs, they usually get the same pay with the rest of the members. Examples of cooperatives are the following: Metro South Cooperative Bank, Pasig Parish Credit Cooperative, which is found near our school, and First Community Cooperative, which was formerly known as Ateneo Credit Union. Now that we know every form of organization, here are the key takeaways. Sole proprietorship, one owner, unlimited liability, managed solely by the owner. For partnership, two or more owners called partners, unlimited liability, managed by a number of owners. For corporation, unlimited owners called stockholders, limited liability, and managed by an assigned board of directors. And for cooperative, unlimited owners called stockholders, limited liability, managed by a managing committee elected by the members. Before we end this lesson, here is quote related to our lesson. Great organizations demand a high level of commitment by the people involved. This quote is from Bill Gates, which means that no matter what form of organization you belong in, always remember that it will only develop and improve if you put a high level of commitment to it. So that is for today's lesson. Thank you for listening. Once again, we are the Group 5 of the Archdiocese of Zamboanga, and we hope that you learn the different forms of organizations. Bye!